Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join us for our Lunch and Learn. Hopefully it will be time well spent. This is the first one of these that I've done, so I'm hoping I get an A+ on this, but it remains to be seen. Today we're going to be talking about how to choose a general contractor. We've got a couple of slides here, but we're gonna kind of walk through those. It's a critical part of the building process, so I think this will be a valuable session. Before we get into that, I'm sure if y'all are on this call, you know a little bit about us, but we've been manufacturing building log homes since 1974. We have designed and built many across the country, from east to west, north to south, and our focus is we design, fabricate, and install the product anywhere in the United States. So we send crews out, we handle all the engineering, and the idea is that we do everything that a local general contractor really might not be comfortable with building a log house. So we own that part of it, and then we provide support to the general contractor in the field. That actually makes this conversation a little easier because any good general contractor can support you in the building of your log home. So let's get started into the meat of this here. The first question, and I don't want to take anything for granted, but what in the world is a general contractor? Across the country, states license general contractors for residential, commercial, industrial applications. In order to become a general contractor, you have to pass a certain number of tests. And one of the critical pieces is you have to show financial fortitude. The idea is that a general contractor has to show that they've got enough of a balance sheet so that they can build your house and not go bankrupt in the process. I'm sure everybody's heard their nightmare general contractor stories or builder stories, but that's the crux of what a general contractor is. Essentially, they're experienced. They have connections in your local area for labor and trades in order to do building projects. Also, a general contractor is responsible for the entire project. So all the codes, requirements, the quality of the work. A lot of times they're responsible to the bank if you're financing. So they are hiring an expert to coordinate the building of your home. One of the things is StoneMill is not the general contractor for your project. We have a very specific role that we play, and we provide expertise and support wherever you're building, but your general contractor will be providing, they'll be responsible for the entire build. In every state in the country, you, as in you personally, can act as your own contractor. You can pull a permit for your home, and you can act as the general contractor. Our model within StoneMill is set up to support that, as we will provide the installation of the log home components for the build. Like I said, anywhere in the country, but as a lot of our homeowner builders like that because they have to coordinate getting the foundation and the subfloor in place, and then we come in and get the house dried in, and then they take their time finishing out the rest of the project. So that's a rough definition of what a general contractor is, and I think that we'll get a little more deeply into it, but the question is why to use a general contractor, and part of it is you're hiring an expert. Typically, projects that have a general contractor, although you will pay them a fee, They go faster. They typically go smoother, and and you're and you will have somebody essentially to hold accountable for the entire project. Locating a general contractor, we get this question all the time, and the conception of the people who are talking to us is that you have to have a general contractor that knows everything about building a log and timber home in order to have a successful build. With our model, with our sister company, Creekside Construction, we are going to send our people out with our equipment. We do a job site inspection on the front end, and they are going to come out and do the installation. And we just had a crew in Iowa. We've got a crew over in south of Nashville, Tennessee. I think the next couple of houses are more local, but we've got one that we're planning to build in the spring that's in Washington State. So, we can project our expertise across the country. In addition, we also supply project management support for things that our crews may not do, like electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. And we support you or your general contractor with our expertise regarding the nuances of building a StoneMill home and how these particular components have to be coordinated with the build. So how do you find these guys? Essentially, you're looking for a good custom builder. And it's one of the rule holds true. If somebody is upset with a contractor, they'll tell 10 people. If they're happy with them, they'll tell one. So as you start talking to people in your area, what I recommend is people call the local home builders association and get a list of home builders in the area, and pick up the phone and call them. Also, if there's a big local building supply company, the Lowe's and Home Depots are fairly transient as far as the people coming through, and Menards, depending on where you are. But your local, locally owned building supplies, if you go talk to the professional desk in there and say, looking for a really good general contractor, do you have anybody you're doing business with that is, buying material on a regular basis, paying their bills on a regular basis, and, seems to, they can tell if there's a steady flow of work coming through certain individuals. So you can get referrals that way. I have actually called and talked to the codes officials in the area. They are not supposed to, and I don't have this on the list, they're not supposed to refer contractors, but if you sit down and talk to the building official in your area and tell them what you're trying to do, and ask them if they know of somebody good that builds in the area where you're trying to build. And if you're really upfront with the guy and or girl and tell them what you're trying to do, a lot of times they'll say, well, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but Bill Smith down the road, you may want to call him. So that's a place to go. If we have owners that are building in your area or have built in your area, we're happy to pass along the names of the contractors, or really what we prefer to do is give you the name of the owner in the area, let you talk to them, and then you can get a referral from that past StoneMill owner. They're going to know more than we are because they're in that local area. Let me think. What other items are critical? I think that's really it. Just get on the phone and start talking to people. And what you'll find is if you call 2 or 3 people and they don't call you back, they're probably not a good fit for many reasons. I will tell you this as well. In order to get a general contractor's attention, because these guys get calls all the time, and they'll get a call and somebody will say, hey, I'm thinking about building a house. How much is it going to cost me? Well, there's 1,000 variables involved in answering that question. If you're able to call them and say, hey, I've got land, I have a set of drawings, this is what I'm planning to do, I have a list of some of the amenities that I want in the house, you have set yourself above the people that are calling. Good general contractors are in demand. They're not out banging on doors and calling, calling on people and begging for work. So if you call them and you tell them that you're organized and that you're prepared, you're going to get the attention. What should you look for in a general contractor? And I'll give you a little bit of background on me. I've been building log homes for 26 years, and in that period of time, I have dealt with literally thousands of contractors across the country. And the ones that are successful are the ones that are highly organized. They're good communicators. They're going to communicate well verbally. They're going to communicate well from a written perspective. And they're going to be responsive. If you send your contractor a text and say, hey, I have a question about the type of flooring I'm going to put in the house, and he doesn't respond to you for 4 days, that's a problem. I look at building projects as partnerships, and many custom home builds take 10 to 12 months from signing a contract to moving in. And so, you're going to be working with this person or people or organization for quite a while. So you have to be really comfortable in how you communicate and how they communicate with you. And that's why I said willing to partner with you, with the contractor being willing to partner with you and StoneMill on the log home. Once you start to talk to a contractor, we actually have some clients that will bring their contractor to Knoxville, and we'll sit down as a group and talk. We can do that virtually, kind of like we're doing now, because not only are you and your contractor going to be partnering to build this, but we're kind of the third leg of that group. So we want to be there, and we want your contractor and you to be really comfortable reaching out to us and asking us questions. We may not have the answers, but if we don't have the answers, we'll do our best to try to track them down for you. Chemistry. That is a, when you meet somebody and you build rapport quickly with them, I call that chemistry. And, the person you can call up and ask a question that you may preface with, this may be a dumb question, but, you really want to feel comfortable asking that. You want to ask the questions. You want to make good decisions about the building of your home, because you're going to have to be really involved in a lot of the decisions on how things are done, what products are used, what kind of flooring, what kind of roofing, what kind of windows, all of those are questions that you're going to need to be involved in, and you need to feel good about having the conversation with the client. We built a house, and this is probably the extreme case. We built a house for a couple in North Carolina, and one day I asked the owner a question. And I said, why don't you call the builder and ask him? She said, I'm scared to call the builder. We just stay away from him, and he sends us a bill, and we pay it. And I said, oh my gosh, that is the nightmare scenario. So your general contractor is your partner, and starting that relationship off well with mutual respect is critical. Works with a written contract. I cannot stress that should be number one on the list and in bold. You can't build a custom home on a handshake. You need to have a good detailed estimate. And frankly, your bank will make you have a good detailed estimate if you're working with a bank. You need to have a good detailed estimate, and the contract needs to be specific about what you're going to pay the contractor, what the contractor is responsible for, what you're responsible for, um, and really defines the way you're going to work together. Um, it was we built. I was working with somebody that I knew personally on a project, and I am a licensed contractor in Tennessee. And he said, yeah, well, I just want you to do this. And I was like, no, we need a contract. He said, I've known you for 20 years. I said, I want to continue to be your friend for the next 20. And the way you do that is you set expectations in writing. So you need a contractor, like I said at the top, highly organized and detail oriented. That will reflect into the contract. Read it, ask questions, and make sure that you don't need to be an expert in building, um, but it needs to make sense to you. And check references. Again, building supplies are good reference places to go to. Um, Talk to people who have built homes with that general contractor in the past, and they'll be good references. So take the time to do that. We will, in as far as StoneMill's perspective, if you're close and you want to bring your contractor to Knoxville, we're happy to meet with you and your contractor anytime. And and I know it may be, far to come, but to some of our clients, it's been important to them. Okay. The GC and StoneMill, how they work together. And I've talked a little bit about this on the front end, but the way that we're set up, if you find a good custom home builder, this person may never have seen a log home in their lives, but we can work with them to support them through the build. My point is that if there's a guy who's a log home builder, and he is purported to be, the one guy in your area that knows how to build log homes, but you just don't get the right feeling from him. And there's a guy who may not be in the log home industry or never built a log home, but he's a reputable, highly organized builder. You want to go with that guy, and we can support you and your builder through the build. So don't be nervous about that. That's kind of how our model's set up. We are one of the few in the country, as far as log home companies, that actually owns the process from design to fabricating the logs to installing the logs on your site, and doing some additional dry-in services. Um, as I said, we provide the unique materials and labor. And a lot of times people will ask us, well, why don't you provide all my subfloor material? Why don't you supply all of the material for the decks? Really, if you're building in Wisconsin, there is absolutely no reason for us to truck material across the country. We want to truck material that's unique to your project, and and that's economical. When you can get material, conventional material, delivered from a local building supply. And the great thing about those guys is if you have 10 2x4s left over, they'll come pick them up and credit them. And for us, if we've sent a tractor trailer out there, there's a good chance we're not going to have room on our vehicles to be able to bring the material back. So a lot of the things we do are trying to control the cost of your overall project. We provide, we've found over the years that although we do provide the installation pieces, the guys who go out and stack logs and draw the house in, that there are a lot of questions about electrical and plumbing and heating and air, and how do you do flashing, for instance. And I may be talking jargon here, but there are questions that the general contractor may have after we get finished, or frankly before we get there. And instead of that general contractor sitting around scratching their head saying, I wonder how I'm going to do the electrical here, we have experienced project managers that are available. I happen to be one of them, and we're available by text and phone, and we encourage your general contractor to get the subcontractor on the phone with us, and we can speak their language and say, okay, here's how you do this, here's how we've prepared for electrical, and here's what you need to do in preparation for us getting to the job site. Remington Brown, our design manager, has a lot of details that he has available that we can email you and your subcontractors to make sure that not only are we communicating verbally, but as they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and it's true. So we provide that project management support to try to continue to invest in you and your project to make it turn out the way you want it to be. Ultimately, your general contractor, the buck stops with your general contractor, and he's responsible for the build. We're accountable to you and your general contractor, and our labor service, we're essentially subcontractors to your general, and and the material that we supply is material just like you'd buy from any other supplier. So although we do supply a lot of support, we are not responsible to the codes officials, and we will support your general contractor being responsible to the codes officials, but we're not responsible to coordinate inspections and that type of thing. On one note, there are two pieces, as I talk about codes, that are important to say. One is we have every set of drawings that we develop for our clients engineered. It's reviewed by an engineer specific to your area. So that makes the permitting process a whole lot easier for you locally. Also, we provide a res check analysis, which is an energy document that we develop based on some of the choices in your house, like windows and doors, and if you're going to build a basement or crawl space. All of those variables go into this energy calculation, but we provide that as well. So if you talk to your local codes official, if you're considering building, they say, oh, log homes, we've got to have all this additional stuff. We're 3 steps ahead. We build in the coldest climates in the country, and we build in some of the warmest climates in the country, and we've worked with codes officials all over the country. So not to say never, but our team here has many years of experience, and we can work in your area. Let's see. One of the things that I touched on earlier was your general contractor is going to help you with all of the selections, siding, roofing, all of that. They're going to be coordinating all of the pieces of the build to finish it after we get finished. And all of that essentially should end up, in the detailed estimate. So on the front end, you as an owner have a fair amount of homework. You need to be able to tell the contractor, hey, this is what I want in my house. I want these floors. I want these windows. I want this look. And that takes some time to prepare a document that's really going to be useful for the build. But ultimately, your general contractor, yourself as the owner, and StoneMill are going to be working hand in hand to bring this process from, hey, I want to build a log home on my property, and I want to develop a drawing, to actually getting you to the point where you're ready to move in and enjoy the home.